Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning for another CNIC webinar. This one is entitled Highlighting Canada's Isotope Advantage, and we've titled it that because we're very excited to be showcasing some of our member companies right across the country that make up Canada's robust supply chain, strengthening our country's ability to not only produce and deliver, but to advocate about isotopes. As many of you'll know, over the last few years, we've grown to reach over 115 organizations right across the country, bringing new perspectives, new enhanced expertise to this community. As many will know as well, we also launched back in October an updated version of our Canadian Isotope Ecosystem Directory, which really is an in-depth look at the companies and organizations that make up Canada's world-class isotope sector. And so today's webinar is intended to showcase some of the companies that are included in that directory, as well as some of our newest CNIC members right across the entire supply chain to demonstrate how much value is found right here in Canada. Today, we'll be hearing from organizations in emerging innovation hubs like Saskatoon and Edmonton and more, along with players in some of the more well-known ecosystems in Ontario and BC. We're very happy today to be joined by 5 leaders who will be highlighting their capabilities that set Canada apart from the rest of the world and demonstrate our isotope advantage that we have here in Canada. I will also mention that there will be some Q&A time towards the end of the event, so please feel free to submit any questions in the Q&A function throughout the presentations, and we'll be happy to ask those towards the end. If we do end up running out of time, we're happy to connect you with the presenters as well to learn more about their organizations and learn how to get involved. With that, I'd like to welcome our first presenter who represents the very start of the supply chain here in Canada and where the production pipeline begins with stable isotopes. Please welcome Zachary Hockenberry, who is a new product development officer and sales and marketing specialist at TMC Group, where he leads efforts to develop novel enrichment methods for expanding the company's isotope portfolio and leverages his technical expertise to grow its client base and industry presence. I'll pass it over to you now, Zachary.
Hello, thanks for the introduction. I will really quickly share my screen. Just want to make sure everyone can see that in full screen now.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Great. So good morning, everyone. I'm out on the West Coast, so it's a pretty early morning for me. As Melody said, my name is Zach. I work for TMC Group. I originally started for this company working in R&D, sort of in the product development area, and now I've been split in half. So half of me is doing product development, and the other half is doing sales and marketing. So I'm really excited to be here and tell you more about our company today. So we are proudly a Canadian manufacturer of high purity enriched stable isotopes. We've been doing this all the way back since 2004, so it's a relatively old company. The company is privately owned, and we're located up in North Vancouver, BC. We have a relatively large production facility of 30,000 square feet, and at this rate, it seems like it's growing every week to a larger size facility. We have around 65 employees. For context, when I joined 2 years ago, I was the 33rd employee. So you can see that there's been a crazy amount of workforce growth in this company since then. And the reason you probably haven't heard of us, maybe if you have heard of us, it was early on this year, is because we've historically been operating under supply agreements which were NDA bound. And so we haven't really had a reason to come out, and we've kind of just been keeping a low profile. But the reason you're hearing about us now is because our production is actually exceeding these supply contracts. So we have the capacity to engage more broadly with the isotope community. So this year we've joined CNIC. We've started sending people to trade shows, conferences like SNMMI and EANM, and also some smaller conferences like we went to EMIS hosted by Triumph maybe a month ago. We went to the TRP supply chain conference in Boston. So yeah, it's been really exciting. One thing I've noticed about these conferences is, they always have a slide like this called the medical isotope supply chain, where you start with stable isotope enrichment, you create your radioactive isotope, then you do some processing to get your final drug, and then you go through quality control and regulations, distribution, and then you eventually administer the drug in the hospital. But one thing I always notice is that they lump step 1 and 2 together, and stable isotope enrichment often gets overlooked, and the focus tends to be on the radioisotope production as the foundation of the medical isotope supply chain. As stable isotope, as a company that solely does stable isotope enrichment, we don't do anything radioactive. This kind of hurts our feelings a little bit because we know that without high purity stable isotopes, you really risk introducing some long-lived contaminants into your final drug and therefore compromise drug safety. So we at TMC view ourselves as very important component to the supply chain, providing reliability in high purity stable isotopes. And if you've ever been in procurement of isotopes for your company, you know that getting high purity stable isotopes is a little difficult because there's a few big players, one of them being Russia, which can be just a bit unstable sourcing material from there. So as stable isotope suppliers, we work with a number of different people. We have worked with researchers in academia, providing research size batches of product. We also provide larger commercial size batches for healthcare and pharmaceutical companies. We also work with isotope suppliers and distributors. And finally, companies in other industries where stable isotopes have an application. I'll briefly talk about the history of our company. So the founder and CEO, his name is Brian Webster, really nice guy. In 2004, he left Norion Triumph to start producing Palladium 104. Palladium 104 is a precursor for Palladium 103, which is used for prostate brachytherapy treatments. And then we don't produce Palladium 104 anymore, but in 2011 we added Gallium 69 to our isotope portfolio, which is a precursor for Gallium 68. This is a very widely used radioisotope for positron emission imaging. And if you look at this plot here of this is our annual production of Gallium 69 over the years. You see in 2026 we are expecting to produce a whole kilogram elemental of very high purity Gallium 69. Routinely, we get over 99.7 isotopic purity, which is pretty high up there in terms of what's available on the market. In 2014, we added ytterbium 176 to our isotope portfolio. This is a precursor for the very well-known lutetium 177. This is a radioisotope that's very popular for theranostics. If you've ever heard of Pluvicto or Lutathera, that's what radioisotope they use. In 2019, there was a subsidiary company formed called TMC2. So that's actually why we're called the TMC Group now. And if you look at the plot of the annual ytterbium yield for us, you see in 2025 that we're actually expecting to produce more than 2 kilograms elemental of ytterbium 176, which is pretty amazing. And again, the isotopic purity is quite high. If you're looking at this graph, you're probably wondering, what the heck happened at 2021, 2022? Why is there such an increase? And the answer is twofold. First, we've gotten just much, much better at our enrichment process, which is extremely effective. And two is that we've been steadily increasing our production capacity over these years by adding more production lines into our facility. So if we talk briefly about production capacity, we are actually currently in the middle of scaling up our capacity. So we have new production lines coming online in Q1 of 2026. These new lines are not yet allocated, so we could make ytterbium if we want to. We could make something else. What we're really interested in is getting feedback from the community about what stable isotopes they would want to see on the market. So we're really open to forming new partnerships, and especially with other Canadian companies to provide them with specialized isotopes that they require. In addition to this, we also created a new department called the New Product Development team. It's filled with a bunch of smart people. The sole objective is to just develop new processes for stable isotope enrichment and add more isotopes to our portfolio. So we have a lot of really great minds behind this effort right now. I'm always blown away by some of the crazy ideas that this team has produced. So yeah, I'm going to just go to my last slide, which is an illustration of our stable isotope pipeline. So at the top, you see gallium-69 and ytterbium-176. These are in full-scale production stage, and we've added 4 new isotopes that the new product development team has been working on. So first of these is gadolinium-160. It's used to produce terbium-161, which is another very popular radioisotope for theranostics, very similar to lutetium-177. Very exciting right now for that. We have also started producing, or we've started working on zinc-68. This is used to produce copper-67. I won't say anything more about that because I believe you'll hear more about that in the talk from Iotron Medical. That has gone through the experimental development stage and the process development stage and is almost ready for production. We are also working on isotopes of neodymium, which are still in the sort of experimental development stage. And then finally, we're working on, we're doing a feasibility study on enriching nickel-64 using our methodology. Yeah, and I just kind of put a row at the bottom saying others because, like I said, we're looking to have that discussion with the community about what other stable isotopes they would want to see on the market. To close it, I just want to acknowledge all the amazing people at this company. It's really a fantastic place to work, and you know, the excellence of these folks really just makes it a lot easier to do what we do at our company. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Zachary, for the presentation and for highlighting the importance of stable isotope enrichment as truly the very first step of the entire process and something that we definitely want to draw attention to. It's also amazing to see some of the growth that TMC has experienced over the last few years and potentially where you might be going in the future as well. So thanks very much for that.
Thank you.
Up next, we will be transitioning from stable isotopes to isotope production. And Zachary gave a nice little teaser about copper-67. So to talk about the innovative production work going on in Saskatoon, please welcome Patrick Donohue. Patrick is the CEO of Iotron Medical and has vast experience in radiopharmaceutical startups, consulting firms supporting market and commercial approval and availability, and more. He is a strategic level pharmaceutical and medical device executive focused primarily on driving innovation in the development, manufacture, distribution, and marketing of radiopharmaceuticals and radionuclides used in imaging and therapy. Pat, I will pass it over to you.
Yeah, so I'm Patrick Donohue. I'm the CEO of Iotron Medical, and our focus is on radioisotope copper-67. So we're a nuclear medicine company involved in the rapidly growing field of radioactive theranostics, and that is the use of radioisotopes for imaging and treatment of cancer. As I mentioned, we produce copper-67, a beta-emitting isotope that's been of interest in cancer therapy for over 40 years, but only recently has been available in a high enough specific activity, which we are doing on a linear accelerator. Iotron Medical is the first commercial company to produce and ship copper-67 at our manufacturing facility, which is in Saskatoon. We use an accelerator that's on the site of Canadian Light Source and shipped to users in North America and in Europe. So the process that we are using has been around for a little while. We worked with Argonne National Laboratory to produce, to create a new process which uses sublimation to make the separation from the zinc target material to the copper-67 product. There are 4 issued patents to us on this, and we're in the process of switching over from our current process, which has been around for a while, to this new proprietary process. The other thing I want to say about, just to mention, copper-67 is a therapeutic isotope. As I mentioned, it's used to kill cancer cells. It is usually paired with copper-64 or copper-61, and those are imaging isotopes. So this is part of this theranostic world that we're working in. We do not produce the imaging isotopes, but they can be produced on a number of cyclotrons around the world. Just a little bit of a quick comparison here. Copper-67 has basically embodies some of the best treatment characteristics. As you can see from this table, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. There are a number of therapeutic isotopes that are being considered and used in theranostics. Lutetium-177, iodine-131, yttrium-90. This table just shows that we believe copper-67 has the best combination of characteristics that make it an ideal product. I'll just highlight a couple of them. You know, again, we have one of the things that's a little bit unusual about copper isotopes is that we have a couple of very good choices. Copper-67 for therapy, and as I mentioned, several other copper isotopes for imaging. And you know, as I think everyone understands, what happens in radioisotope therapeutics is we are doing imaging with one type of isotope and then therapy with another, and it's beneficial if those are the same element, right? Because they're chemically and biochemically identical. So that's true about copper-67 paired with copper-64 or copper-61. And the other thing is that I'll mention is that copper-67 is produced on an accelerator. The other ones that are most often used are produced on reactors, and of course reactors are expensive and produce a good bit of radioactive waste. I sense we're in the field of radiopharmaceuticals. We have to show up and throw up an image. It's part of what we always do. I won't go through all of this, but the field of imaging and therapy is a rapidly growing one. These images happen to come from Clarity. They're probably the most advanced user of copper-67, and very superior images and as well as therapeutic. So copper-67 has a lot of interest. Just PubMed studies here. You might not be able to read the bottom there, but there's just a very significant growth in the interest of copper-67, and that's shown here in this slide, but also, as I mentioned before, in the growing use of copper-67 in clinical trials. So we're the first, Itron is the first commercial supplier of copper-67. We are regularly producing copper-67 and have been doing so since 2022 at our linear accelerator in Saskatoon. We have an experienced team there, and we are continually growing that team. And we are making regular shipments to North America and Europe. I mentioned, I think the Argonne National Lab had produced, had developed with our support this proprietary process that uses zinc metal as that's the target that we irradiate in the accelerator, and there are four patents. And we have the exclusive license for those. We have been producing copper-67 for a number of years now, and these are just some examples of where we're shipping. We have a number of existing customers in North America and Europe, and a large number of people who are working toward that in their research activities, and so we are expecting a great deal of growth. So among the things we are working on these days is to expand our capacity beyond our current linear accelerator in Saskatoon. We're looking at potentially other locations in Canada, in the United States, and in Europe. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of our team, we have a number of well-known experts in nuclear medicine. Just to call out a few, Alan Packard was recently the president of the Society of Nuclear Medicine. He's been working with copper compounds for some years. He's at Children's Hospital in Boston. Steve Sugden has been working, he was actually the longest employee at Iotron. He's been working on this program for about 10 years. As I think we mentioned in the introduction, I joined about 4 years ago. So that's our overview. We'll look forward to any discussions. Thanks.
Thanks, Pat, very much. Very encouraging to see some of the growth, and particularly that graph with the increasing demand for copper-67, especially knowing that Canada has a bit of a growing expertise in this space through Iotron. So if I could get you to stop sharing your screen, Pat. We are now going to transition from current isotope production to looking at the isotope production capabilities of tomorrow, and some of the exciting processes and projects that are happening in Canada and around the world to support increased production capacity to meet that growing demand. So up next, I'd like to please welcome Rishi Jain, who serves as the Managing Director of Business Development and a partner at Cross River Infrastructure Partners. Rishi leads the nuclear business development activities of the firm and is responsible for all aspects of project origination. He manages commercial processes, stakeholder relations, and is closely involved with financial structuring of projects, and is the lead for strategic partner relationships. Over to you, Rishi.
Great. Thank you, Melody, and good morning to everybody. Quick introduction about Cross River. If we can go to the next slide. We are fundamentally a project developer. And we have been focused on in the last 5 years on the province of New Brunswick. That's the province everybody tends to fly over, trying to get to Nova Scotia, but it still exists, and it is a nuclear province. So what we have been focused on is fundamentally was originally a behind-the-meter nuclear for large power, SMR power generation. But from that sprang forth the isotope business, because the isotopes are likely going to play an important role in the initial sequence of SMRs. And so our view went, New Brunswick doesn't currently have an isotope ecosystem. In order for one to be able to underwrite the larger SMRs, that ecosystem needs to exist. And because we've pulled together a whole nuclear project developer, could we find a situation that allows us to bring in isotope production earlier with a research type reactor? So we launched a search, and really, so when you see our 3 verticals, energy, digital, healthcare, it all stems from nuclear. The digital is nuclear powered data centers. The isotopes come from the nuclear, and we have what I will describe next. So if we go to the next slide. In our search, what we came across and have now created a full collaboration with is the Eden all target reactor, developed at Sandia National Lab and under exclusive license to Eden, with the people from Sandia who actually developed this are on the team, are the founding team. This reactor, 2 thermal megawatts, is a prolific, purposefully designed for only isotope production in the 90s. This was it was designed when the US became acutely aware of the forthcoming moly shortage. And so this was produced in order to create domestic capabilities in the US, and then now it will be domestic US and domestic Canada production capability. The thermal reactor, 2 megawatts thermal, is designed with an integrated hot cell or hot cells facilities, which makes that in itself a unique proposition. Targets, to begin with, what is really interesting about this reactor is that you get it is high specific activity moly, so it's a fission product. And so you get activated products effectively at zero marginal cost. And so based on the design of the reactor, there are 6 activation slots on top of the fission production. So what that means is that we will be able to produce not only significant high specific activity moly 99, which is what what is mostly used in clinical facilities, which is different than what is produced at Bruce globally. But because of the activation slots or points in the reactor, we'll be able to produce non-carrier added lutetium-177 via the ytterbium decay. And that's just one of a number of activated products that we can produce at effectively zero marginal cost. So the design is literally just made to pump out isotopes, and because of the integrated hot cell, we'll be able to send this off into the next slot. If you go to the next slide. So where Eden sits is in the production and in the processing purification. And then this, because of New Brunswick's strategic geography, and again, I joke that, Americans have no idea where New Brunswick is, and actually most Canadians probably don't remember where New Brunswick is. But if you were to drop a pin in the middle of Europe and North America and say, what is the most strategic location that is best connected to everything, and it can't be dropped in the water, it's New Brunswick. So from a logistics standpoint, everything can flow out of New Brunswick, and it can service the entire Northeast and Eastern seaboard of the US, as well as, because of our proximity to Boston when we're in southern New Brunswick, that means that we are close to the next stage, which is the radiopharmaceutical manufacturing, but also lets us get over to Europe very quickly and avoid significant decay. Go on to the next slide. So this is a 2-reactor strategy, and this is actually going to be allow us to provide, or allow Eden to provide, the first of a kind commercial contracting of production guarantees. And so this will be pure, and it will still be a true N-1 supply chain resiliency. So the first reactor is close to being docketed with the NRC in New Mexico, and then we will be using from the regulatory pathways that are being established that exist now between the NRC and the CNIC to accelerate the Canadian regulatory side. And by having 2 reactors with full N-1 resiliency redundancy, we will now be able to get past the fragility that you see in the supply chain constantly, especially with moly, but across isotope production, because both reactors can fully back each other up. And unplanned outages, excess, or even outages elsewhere in the world with ancient reactors in Europe and South Africa, when those go down and they are reaching their end of lives, we will be able to effectively take all of that production, all of that demand, and supply it, and still have significant excess. The cost of this is also going to be the lowest cost in the world, simply because of the way that the reactor is designed, and how fast the production can happen and get to the end markets. So the Canadian facility provides not just geographic, but political diversification. So that allows us to have different contracting, longer contracting across both facilities, including with Europe, et cetera, who may feel a little bit shy given changing trade patterns. Can move on. Just to highlight, again, we are looking at several sites in southern New Brunswick, and importantly, we'll be able to offer University of New Brunswick, and this is sort of a social benefit that comes alongside this. University of New Brunswick has a nuclear engineering program, almost a full degree program. Amongst other things, we intend to be able to offer significant operator training, et cetera, that comes along those paths. But our hope, and more importantly and germane to this conversation, is that we'll be able to establish Canada's first radiopharmaceutical degree program. And that would be hopefully in collaboration with the University of New Mexico, which already has that program. From the leadership summit, the CNIC's leadership summit, I did have a conversation with a grad student who expressed frustration that no such program exists in Canada, and she was having trouble trying to piece together her degree. So there's an opportunity here for us to really expand the radiopharmaceutical as well as the operator training, et cetera, for University of New Brunswick. Next slide. Quick look at the regulatory timeline between the two reactors. There is an MOU, as I mentioned earlier, there is an MOU in place between the NRC, the CNSC, and the UK regulator, ONR, that allows for that is them expressing their desire to be able to use each other's work. And so in consultation with the NRC and the CNSC, we believe that this reactor being so small and actually very simple from all sorts of different angles would become a very good first test case for the CNSC to be able to utilize NRC's work. Right now, the GE Darlington project is actually going the other way. The NRC is getting information from the CNSC, so this would be the pathway coming back the other direction. We can go to and just in terms of in-service date, the NRC, the US reactor, the New Mexico reactor is likely to be online sometime in 2030 or early 2031. And we expect a 12-month delay or lag, I should say, for the Canadian reactor. So our target in-service date for New Brunswick is 2032. Can keep going. Oh, okay, well, there we are. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present, and very much appreciate the time and look forward to any questions at the end. Thank you, Melody.
Thanks, Rishi. Very exciting to see some of the efforts to increase resiliency and redundancy within the Canadian supply chain. And very great to see some of the potential collaboration work with one of our partner institutions at the University of New Brunswick as well, working to address some of the workforce challenges that many within this industry face. Just a quick reminder for everyone who's joined us today that there will be time to ask our panelists some questions towards the end of the event. So please feel free to put any questions that you have into the Q&A function, and we're happy to make sure those get to the presenters. So next up, we're going to be moving on from isotope production and some of the processing to talk about the use of isotopes for radiopharmaceutical development and research. Canada is seeing a great deal of clinical and research advancements right across the country, and today we're pleased to be joined by Dr. Piyush Kumar from Alberta, who is going to be talking about the work that he is leading through Wiki Biosciences. Wiki Biosciences and the work that Dr. Piyush Kumar lead have a mission to make hypoxia management business, science, and health benefits globally accessible. In this direction, Wiki now has a phase 1 and 2 theranostics trial that has been approved by Health Canada. But Dr. Kumar is also a clinical professor in oncology at the University of Alberta, focusing on theranostic management of tumor hypoxia. His experience also includes co-investigation of clinical trials at the Cross Cancer Institute and developing regulatory models for clinical trials. I will pass it over to you, Dr. Kumar. Oh, we can't hear you. You're on mute, Dr. Kumar.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Well, first of all, many thanks to CNIC and the organizers for providing an opportunity to showcase Wiki's theranostic innovation, which actually has a serious potential and to address a yet unmet cancer therapy challenge, which is actually sorry, I'm just not moving. Oh, which is actually the tumor hypoxia. And the reason, because it is one of the conditions that is found in many cancer type solid tumors. And it promotes metastatic progression and resistance to conventional treatments. And very staggering is the number where about 40% of cancer patients show up with hypoxic tumors. Doesn't matter what the cancer type is, they're malignant. And by 2040, it's estimated that almost 30 million new cancer patients will be diagnosed every year. And of them, over 16 million dying. So why now? Because really there is no real drug out to treat such kind of tumors. And that's where Wiki comes into the picture. So addressing hypoxia, we want to forward hypoxic research, clinical management, and also the business on a global scale. And our innovation is the medicine that not only images but treats solid hypoxic tumors because it targets hypoxia. And beautifully, we have a choice based on the isotope that we can use it for PET imaging or SPECT imaging. And when it's reached inside the tumor, it provides molecular radiotherapy, which is in situ. And that's how we can avoid damaging normal tissues as well and minimize side effects. And like I said, hypoxia is part of all solid tumor types. So our treatment our medicine can target many cancer types. Interesting to note is that hypoxia is not only in cancers, it's also a hallmark of many critical diseases like myocardial infarction, diabetes, arthritis, etc. We are fortunate to invent a product which is called FASA, and it's a hypoxia-activated radiopharmaceutical for PET imaging of patients diagnosed with tumor hypoxia. And we have tested this product in many cancer patients, and it's now actually used globally in many cancer hospitals. Part of Wiki team has also been involved in educational and knowledge translation activity through Canadian College of Radiopharmaceutical Sciences and Canadian Association of Radiopharmacology Scientists. And our team actually has expertise in various segments of this theranostic management. So we have radiopharmaceutical chemists, clinicians, and regulatory people, biomedical engineering people. And we closely associate with University of Alberta and the cancer hospital, which is called Cross Cancer Institute. And we have collaborations abroad also in the UK, USA, and in India. Wiki also established a joint point in China, and they are in process to pursue an IND submission for phase 1-2 trial cancer therapy. And Wiki also offers support for developing radiopharmaceuticals for manufacturing or clinical trials and biomedical innovations. So we have one main clinical product, which is called Hypoxia, and I would like to emphasize here because it's a radiopharmaceutical. And here is the innovation where we'll be using the same drug for imaging and molecular radiotherapy treatment of many cancer types. It's a precision technology, non-competing, and phase 1-2 theranostic trial has been approved by Health Canada. So we are in process of raising money, and people interested, can connect with me to raise funds and with joining in the clinical trial as well. Princess Margaret Hospital in Toronto is our collaborator as well in the trial. The second product, Hypoxin M, is actually a non-radioactive product, but using this product, we can do a single cell imaging of hypoxia and quantify it inside. Our pipeline is quite exciting because that's where we are using radiometal-based theranostics, where the like collaboration from Zachary and other people can come into the picture. We have been funded recently by Alberta Innovates to develop this stuff. And also, hypoxia creates one biggest challenge that the drug does not reach to the hypoxic tumors because of poor angiogenesis. So it's metabolized or deactivated prior to reaching tumor target. And that's where nanotechnology comes into the picture. So one of our pipeline is developing nanotheranostics with the radiometal-based molecules. It's a basic plan that we are pursuing in the clinical trial. And the reason I wanted to show here, because there is one molecule which will use to identify patients with hypoxic tumors. We can do, like I said, PET or SPECT imaging based on the isotope that we incorporate in the drug. And that way we can identify which patients have hypoxic tumors. Not only that, by tumor doses, we can calculate precisely how much dose is present in the tumor. And based on that, we can calculate precision, effective, and safe non-toxic therapeutic doses and put those patients on the trial. So our technology guarantees precise targeting of hypoxic tumors with minimal toxicity. And we have a dual functionality of imaging and treatment. And our clinical trials sites are, collaborators are in Toronto and overseas as well, besides Cross Cancer Institute. I wanted to show a very conservative market projection for our product in USA alone. Conservative because we are considering only 0.5% of hypoxic cancer patients in 2 conditions. And it could be interesting, very interesting for the investors who are sitting in the audience. And what we have done, we have taken only 2 cancer types, esophageal and lung and bronchial, into consideration. Cost revenue generation has been very conservative, but is based on the price that big pharma charges charged in 2020. So imaging cost and treatment cost is indicated here. So if we get only 0.2% of hypoxic population with only a 5% annual growth rate in USA alone in 2 cancer conditions, yearly we can generate millions of dollars once we reach to the market stage. So it's a very, very effective and globally attractive and medically attractive innovation. In summary, we stand out because we are integrating hypoxia targeting. It's still an unaddressed medical need by existing therapies. And we can leverage our HARPs or hypoxia activated radiopharmaceuticals for precisely targeting hypoxic cancer cells with normal cells not being affected. Like I said, it's a one drug-based theranostic solution for solid hypoxic tumors where we have combined the powers imaging and therapy in the same molecule. So additional advantage is that pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics remains the same during both interventions and target is precise. We also have a pipeline of nanotheranostics, which includes biocompatible nanoparticles to minimize pre-target metabolic degradation of drugs. And we have some exciting results. We are working on it in the preclinical stage, and we have been funded by many federal and provincial funding agencies. So in a nutshell, our company has a technology that can provide science, health, and business benefits for global access. So with that, I thank you, the organizers, and the audience for listening to me. And at the end, I'll be happy to answer any question. And looking forward to collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kumar. Lastly, in our journey through the supply chain today, we're going to talk about communication. Communication and storytelling, potentially underrecognized yet critical pieces of the puzzle to ensure that people across the country and around the world know about the important work that's going on in Canada. So I'm going to turn it over to Tyrell Lisson, who is the Managing Director of Big Red Oak, a marketing agency focused on clean energy and storytelling. Previously, Tyrell has helped shape Fortune 500 brands and led campaigns in the philanthropic sector, combining creative strategy with purpose-driven impact. And we firsthand know what it's like to work with Big Red Oak. We've done a few projects with them in the past, like our Isotopes for Hope podcast. So Tyrell, I will pass it over to you.
Great, thanks, Melody. Let me just share my screen here. Yeah, thanks, Melody, for the introduction. Thanks, Evan, and everybody else at the CNIC. Happy to be here, and thank you for that introduction. My name's Tyrell. I've been helping build Big Red Oak for the last 5 years with go-to marketing agency in the nuclear and nuclear adjacent space in Canada, and one that understands broadly the industry's complexities and the importance of getting the story right. You know, over the past 15 years that Big Red Oak has worked in the nuclear space and in clean energy as a whole, we've seen the ebbs and flows of the industry. We've seen the public perception change, and we understand how trust and clarity can help really shape public perception And with our kind of mix of expertise and experience in the space, our team today is very passionate about it. As Melody mentioned, working with organizations like the CNIC and others to really help move the dial, to help communicate, help earn confidence, and kind of move the nuclear conversation forward. A little bit more about Big Red Oak. We've been around for 15 years. We've been working in the nuclear industry since the very beginning. It all started with a project at Bruce Power, and that ended up becoming something that now we specialize in across the supply chain, OEM, organizations, associations. And I think one of our advantages and where we can have the most amount of impact is we've worked on, a variety of very complex projects, taking great information like, a lot of my my fellow presenters today talk about, and articulate that to different audiences who matter. So whether it's like helping legacy institutions like the Can-Do Owners Group, who just celebrated a huge milestone anniversary, do their rebrand, or stakeholder campaigns with the likes of Westinghouse and Bruce Power, as mentioned, we've worked right across the industry. And thirdly, I think, there's a lot of preconceived notions, much like nuclear. There's a lot of preconceived notions about marketing, about communications, about agencies, big expense, a lot of people, what are you really doing? Are you moving the needle? Do you understand my problems? This is kind of where our bread and butter is. We're big picture thinkers. We understand the space, but we also execute fast. We're a small, mighty team. We're creative. We do everything in-house. And everybody that works here at Big Red Oak understands the clean energy space, understands nuclear, understands radiotheranostics on a level that, like, when we talk to you, we understand broad strokes what you're doing. We can help you deliver on what you're trying to do. And lastly, but most importantly, I think our relationships set us apart and really help us impact, whether it's, being trusted by the likes of Bruce Power, Westinghouse, OPG, being members of organizations and helping them like the OCNI, the CNA, the CNIC. I think if you talk to a lot of our partners at these companies and others, they would say they value the partnership. We certainly do. And it's really kind of what's motivated us over the last 15 years. Just a high level of like how we work and how we work with people to make the most amount of impact. We're not scientists, we're not engineers, but we do have a process. The 4Ds, it's a two-phased approach from discovery through delivery. No matter what we're doing with you, what kind of project we're working on or looking to work on together, we always start with discovery, understanding the strengths, the gaps, hopefully understanding your deepest, darkest secrets. That way we can understand what works best for you. Taking that through definition, turning those insights into clear recommendations. We can make you a video, we can make you a strategic campaign, we can make you a pamphlet, but ultimately at the end of the day, if you're going to spend your money, we want to make sure that you're getting something in your hands that will actually work. As I mentioned, we do all of our design in-house, so working with you to create those deliverables, getting feedback, making sure it speaks accurately and clearly, and then delivering that. So giving you those assets, guiding you, training you, and everything like that. So it's a 4-step process, very easy to follow, and we do it every single time because it works. You might be asking like, well, okay, that's great. You have this process, you do marketing communications. Like, what does that really entail? Because marketing is a big word. It's an umbrella kind of where you've got a lot of different things. But I will stress that first and foremost, we need to start with strategy. We partner with organizations to reach the right people, shape perception, drive action. And how do you do that? You start with strategy, right? And you can execute with a bunch of different tactics, but first and foremost, we need to understand who you're trying to talk to. Once we do that, we can make you pamphlets, we can make you presentations, we can do video, we can do graphic design, we can activate, we can run a great event for you. We can cover it with video, we can do highly targeted campaigns where you get splashy billboards in Yonge Dundas Square or wherever you have billboards in your city. So we can really do it all, and we have experience doing it all. On the types of projects that we work on, here are 4 of the kind of key areas that we have found that we help a lot of clients in nuclear and nuclear adjacent spaces. Recruitment and culture. We understand that there's a huge recruitment issue that we face as an overall industry, helping attract top talent, etc. We've worked with OPG, we've worked with Bruce Power, some of the others to help try to attract and get great young talent. Culture is also an element of that. Stakeholder engagements. I think we're all trying to talk to people. We're all trying to convince people of different things, whether it's building trust with governments on various different levels, stakeholder groups, indigenous communities. We have experience with doing these types of campaigns, having these conversations and strategies and tactics on how to do that most effectively in the space. Change communication is really important for large scale organizations. So again, think Bruce Power and OPG, working with them. We've also worked with MPX, who's really known in the industry for change management and digitization, et cetera, working on guiding teams through that transformation internally. And campaigns that perform. There's a lot of great startups in this space. There's a lot of people that are trying to get their message out. They're trying to build awareness. They're trying to build favorability. That's kind of what we specialize in, helping anybody get that message out there, tell their story, and whether that's raising money, attracting that type of investment, or just kind of getting your brand out there. It all kind of comes down to this last line here of the outcome. You've got a lot going on. You're probably doing marketing, you're doing communications off the side of your desk. What we're trying to do is help you be less stressed, get more results, and have that stronger brand alignment. And that's what we've done for some of our partners. By no means is this an exhaustive list, but you'll see a lot of familiar names on here across the nuclear and nuclear adjacent spaces, from like large players like Bruce Power and like Atkins Realist and like NB Power, down to different associations like the CNA and et cetera. So we love working with all of these folks, and it's been a pleasure. And lastly, I think this is actually most important. And earlier this year, we worked with the CNIC to launch more of an offer for CNIC members, an exclusive offer. Because as I said off the top, we care about the space. We've seen the ebbs and flows. We want to make sure that support remains strong across the board. So if you're working in isotopes, radiopharma, any nuclear adjacent kind of innovation space, and you're looking to build credibility, you're looking to win grants, attract investment, build brand trust, anything like that, we want to help. We have an exclusive package. Happy to talk about it. Even if you just want to bounce ideas, you're like, I have a startup, I have this company, we don't know what to do, we don't know how to communicate, where do we start? I'm happy just to chat and give advice as well. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank my fellow presenters too. It's been great learning more about your companies. You guys can shoot me an email if you want to chat more. And I want to thank Melody and the CNIC, Evan, and everybody there for putting this together. It's been great. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Tyrell, and to everyone for joining us and all of our presenters today. I think we've run out of time for Q&A, unfortunately, but if anyone is interested in being connected with any of the folks that spoke today, please feel free to reach out, and we're more than happy to make an introduction. With that, I really just want to take a moment again to thank our presenters and our audience for joining us. No matter how many times we host these webinars, I always come away having learned something interesting and something exciting about the work that's happening in Canada. As always, this webinar will be available on the CNIC website and our YouTube page after the event, in case you want to rewatch any of the presentations or if you'd like to share with a colleague. Before we sign off for today, just a couple of upcoming events and initiatives that you might be interested in. The first one that's up on your screen right now is our next webinar, which will be happening on December 3rd. This one in particular is very exciting, as it's going to be bringing together some of the leading clinical experts and oncologists within our CNIC community for a bit of a discussion around medical isotopes in cancer care, some of the emerging applications in radiotheranostics, and the importance of cross-sectoral collaboration. So if you scan the QR code that's up on your screen, that'll take you to the registration page very directly, but we hope to see you there. The next thing that I'd like to highlight is actually happening this Friday. In partnership with the Economic Club of Canada, we're very excited to be hosting the official launch of the next phase of our Isotopes for Hope campaign. For those that don't know about the Isotopes for Hope campaign, this is something that we originally launched in 2023 and very much centers on the goal of doubling Canada's production of isotopes by 2030 and identifying how the supply chain, the clinical capacity must adapt in order to support that additional production capacity. So the event that's on Friday will actually feature the official launch of the next phase of the Isotopes for Hope campaign and will include some very exciting political speakers as well. So I hope that everyone will be joining us for that. I believe tickets are now sold out for that event. But the new Isotopes for Hope report, Canada's 2030 Promise, will be available on our website online on Friday as well. So please make sure to check that out. We are also working with Big Red Oak on this event, and we'll be sharing some sizzles and videos coming out of the event in the coming weeks. So be sure to follow us on social media to check those out as well. And lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to mention our Canadian Radiotheranostics Leader Summit for 2026. This is going to be our biggest and best conference yet. We are once again hosting in partnership with several different leading Canadian centers of excellence, including UHN, London Health Sciences, CAMH, and BC Cancer. And we're going to be bringing together almost 500 participants next year, right across the entire supply chain, the clinical community, researchers and scientists, governments, students, and more. So we hope you'll join us on May 25th and 26th next year. More information about this event is available on the CNIC website, as well as opportunities to get involved, exhibit, and sponsor. And with that, I'd like to take one more final opportunity to thank you, our audience, for joining us today and for your engagement, and especially to our speakers for sharing your stories with us. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you at another event very soon.